And let me pull up the, okay, there it is. This is called 3 Days of Catholic Halloween. And I need to do, I need to start the slideshow. So let me bring this down here. And let me see here. All right, I may just have to go with the slides because I can't really change it. And that'll be okay. I can just do the slides. So let me, oh, there we go. Okay, I'll go ahead and do it this way. It'll be fine.
I feel your pain.
Do you feel my pain? Yeah, I was gonna.
We just go with the flow.
We will go with the flow this morning. When someone asks,
Can you hear me?
can you see those slides, by the way? If I can do it this way.
Go over to slideshow.
Yeah, but I can't reach it because Zoom is in the way.
Oh, your tool. Okay, you can't reach the slideshow toolbar.
Well, let me stop the share for a bit here and then let's try it another way. I'll try it again this way. You love computers? I'm going to have to deal with you. I think I can do it this way. And we'll just do it this way. I just can't get past Zoom right now to.
Minimize that and it'll drop down past the deal.
I tried to minimize it and it didn't do it.
I'm not the only one that did that.
Ribbon. Show tabs, show commands. Okay, I had it going a little while ago. I think I can do it. Hang on a second, because I think I can do it this way. Let me bring it up by itself and then I'll start. Here we go. Okay, slideshow. Are you still with me? I know you're muted, but everybody wave hi. Okay, now I can minimize that. Start Zoom. All right, now I can share. And I think that'll do it right there.
It was a great class. Now we know how to do
Believe me, sometimes my classes are like that. It's like,
Okay, I'm really messed up now. It's like, all right, hang on a second here. I really messed it up now.
yeah, 'cause you're on the street.
That's not it. Okay, and where is Zoom?
Well, this time one of my students comes up to my computer and goes, Miss Bird, I'll show you how to do it. And I'm like,
Okay, well, I think, yeah, if I had a hammer, I would hit it, but I don't know what I've done here. I'm gonna do that. Take that out. There's everybody. Hello, everybody. All right, I'm getting there. It's All right, all I'm gonna do, because it is recording and I'm just gonna go ahead and do it. So, but I need my slides, so let me pull up the slides. Here we go. Can you see any of that?
No,
No?
you can see 3 days of Catholic Halloween.
All right. Hey, are you back? Okay. All right. We're going to try this again. Hang on. Hang on. Well, it's right there, and yet it's not letting me share. Let's see here. Oh, I know what to do. Okay. All right, we'll share that. How's that? I think we're back to where we were. All right, I'm going to do it anyway. Here we go. I'm done. When someone asked me if I would be interested in doing a talk about Catholic understanding of Halloween, I jumped at the chance. And I titled this 3 Days of Catholic Halloween. So there you see that slide. I'm going to minimize this real quick. Let's go. Yeah, I'm just going to move you up over here, guys. There we go. Little did I know that when I was wading in the murky waters, and soon I began to find myself trying to tread water to keep my head above the surface of the swirling confusion. First, I had to determine exactly what Catholics around the world define as Halloween. And it did not take long to see it got very, very complicated. Trust me, as a fundamental Protestant before I became Catholic, it was pretty simple. Halloween was one night only, October 31st, and it was a night of celebrating evil. And I didn't want my kids participating in any of it. As a young father, I even wrote a letter to the editor denouncing Halloween. Our Protestant church finally came up with this thing called trunk or treat, following the lead of some other churches around the US. And that is still going on to this day. On Halloween night, we had trunk or treat with a whole bunch of parents and grandparents showing up at the church parking lot, decorating the trunks of their cars in fun ways, avoiding gory, bloody, thirsty stuff that seems to enhance evil instead of fighting it. The kids loved it. Turned out to be a safe way for our church to put a new Christian twist on Halloween. Can you see that slide? No? Can anybody online see it? Okay, good. Thumbs up. All right, I'm going to keep going. The kids dressed up as Bible characters or maybe a fairy tale princess or like Luke Skywalker, Yoda, that kind of stuff. Way different than when I was a kid. By the early 60s, when I was 10 or 11, it was already getting pretty evil oriented. Not as bad as today where anything goes, but you could see the trend of costumes getting darker and darker and more graphic with every Halloween that went by. Is anybody reminded by these photos from the 50s and the 60s? Remember a lot of astronauts and Roy Rogers and Lone Ranger and that kind of stuff back in the Leave It to Beaver days. I also remember the older kids, we called them hoods, which was short for what? Hoodlums, there you go. Doing some pretty bad pranks in those days. A lot of egging of houses and rolling old tires down hills into downtown area. That happened in our little town. And TPing trees in front of different houses, smashing pumpkins all over town. I have this funny story about my dad. He grew up during the Depression, and as an only child, and candy was not something his folks could afford. So When us kids got old enough to start to trick or treat, we figured out that over time, Dad was stealing our candy. He'd wait till we went asleep and then he would come up and we found a lot of our candy was, or at least some of our candy was gone the next morning. It took us a while. When we were little, we didn't know what was going on, but as we got older, we knew exactly what was going on. Mom told us about his childhood. So we came up with this solution. As soon as we got home from trick-or-treating, we took out all our candy, the candy we didn't like, and we put it in a bag that we were sure Dad could find. From then on, it worked out great. Dad was happy, we were happy, and the whole thing worked out really well. Let me show you this. The Candy Bandit. That was my dad. I found these pics on the internet. Apparently, we were not only kids, we were not the only kids that had to deal with this. So I wish you could read it. Here, let me move this over. Read it real quick, okay? Got it? All right, you're over here now. Oh boy, this is fun, isn't it? I'll never do this again. So what are the 3 days of Catholic Halloween? First, let's talk about where the word Halloween came from. The word is a shortened version of an old English phrase. And let me show you this. Let me pull it down here for you. Okay, I got to move it over here. All Hallows Eve. That's Halloween. Is anybody getting sick yet? All 3 days of Hallows Eve, All Hallows Day, All Souls Day are collectively referred to All Hallowtide and are a time for honoring the saints and praying for all the recently departed souls. The word hallow means holy. You may recall reciting in the Lord's Prayer, Our Father, hallowed be thy name. And that's where we come up with a word that puts all those things together, Halloween. Eventually, it became Hallows Eve and finally Halloween. It developed over time, and it was celebrated on different dates going back in history. But today, All Hallows Eve is on October 31st, which is why I decided to do this today. And once again, I will never do it again. But instead of celebration called in English, in Mexico, this is called the Day of the Dead in English. But it's also called, and I need somebody in Spanish to say this for me.
Dia de Muertos.
Dia de los Muertos.
Dia de Muertos.
Okay, my Spanish is horrible. And it's a national holiday in Mexico, where many parts of the country start 3 days of huge celebrations. Let me show you one of them. This is the one in Mexico City, where hundreds of thousands of people come out for the celebration. Here's another one. That's a parade going down through Mexico City. Now it is spread to some degree to all cultures and nations all over the world. It is a very big deal, but especially in Mexico. Its origin, according to historians, goes back to ancient Mesoamerican cultures, primarily the Aztecs, who celebrated their dead for the entire month of August, going back at least 2,500 to possibly 3,000 years. In our modern time, celebrations start on October 31st, or even earlier, with November 1st, primarily remembering children who have died, which would be today, excuse me, and on November 2nd for the adults who have passed on. This special time of year is an opportunity for families to gather together as a solemn occasion, with preparation sometimes taking most of the year leading up to the Day of the Dead. Let me pull this down a little bit for you too. And there you see, they decorate graves in Mexico and in different Spanish cultures all over the world, and in the United States as well. They love the gold marigolds are a big, big thing during Day of the Dead celebrations in Mexico. How many have seen the movie Coco? Anybody?
Yeah.
It's a cute movie by Disney. I've got a few here. But it's all centered around the Day of the Dead celebrations in Mexico. If you've not seen the movie, I would suggest it. It really is something. I kind of watch it every time we get around Halloween. It's a fun movie to watch. Some of the activities include repairing and decorating graves and the dearly departed. Let me show you this. This is another picture of graves. And sometimes those celebrations will go overnight, and the decorations and the lights, you can see lights even on the hill in the background there. Let me move this over a little bit. Yeah, they're gonna, people say, what'd you did Sunday? Well, we moved around a lot. Isn't that beautiful? Stop laughing at me. Candles are lit, and often the favorite meals of those who have passed are prepared. With prayers and music and special memories being shared by the lives of those that lived on the earth. I love this, private altars. What do they call them, Juanita?
Private altars, I never heard of it.
This is turning out to be the best class we've ever had. I think they're called fuentes. Does that sound right? Nobody knows. Okay. Private altars are carefully assembled, beautifully decorated, and they have pictures of the deceased. Lots of candles and gold and orange Mexican marigolds, decorating typically 7 ascending levels in the altar. With lavishly painted, and this is cool, you see this a lot during Day of the Dead celebrations all over the world. They're lavishly painted pottery skulls, and then they also do tiny sugar skulls. And those altars are used for private religious observances, with some families having small parties or even wakes, celebrating the lives of the dear ones who have passed on. If the family member had a sense of humor, the family might share some of the favorite jokes or stories the loved one shared when they were alive. This one really gets to me. Let me pull it down a little bit here. Parents and grandparents of children who died would bring toys that their little ones played with. I want to show you this. I think this is his little brother right there. I tell you, when I see this, there's something going on there in these cultures. They've always honored their dead, but when they become Catholic, then the Catholic Church absorbed these cultures and these customs into a religious understanding. And now this is a big Catholic deal in Catholic Mexico and all over the world, really. We don't do it here, but I kind of wish we did. We had a lovely service last night, and they go on today as well. Father will do them for all 3 of our masses on the weekend, where he brings up all the loved ones that we have loved here locally that died in the past year, since last November 1, All Saints Day. And he brings up their picture with their name, and we light a candle and put that candle on the altar before we have the Eucharist together. Love that. It's the first time, this is the first parish I've been, well, this is the only parish I've been in. But Father, when he came to this parish, started that procedure, and I just love it. I absolutely love it. But this one tears at my heart. This looks like a teenage boy, or maybe even younger. that died. And that may be his little brother right there. It means a lot to me to think about this. That's kind of wanted to share it today. If an adult died, all right, I got to move you guys again, sorry. If an adult died who enjoyed a special kind of liquid spirit, small bottles of their favorite liquor would be placed prominently on the tombstone. Obviously, skulls are a powerful symbol on display during the Day of the Dead, and you would see many young women with half their face painted as a skull, emphasizing how fragile life really is and how quick the transition is from life to death. Tell me what you think of this. If you go to Mexico on October 31st, you will see folks with painted faces everywhere, everywhere. And what I really think, I think it's interesting that they have an understanding of how brief this life is. You know, in a breath or two, we're gone. And so for them to go to those cemeteries, decorate them, clean them up, light candles at night, pray, sing, have the food that loved one that passed loved, to tell the jokes they love to tell. I don't know. I think this is wonderful. Hang on, Chris. I need to get through this and then I'll get right back to you. Wow. On one more significant Day of the Dead character is worth mentioning, created by a famous Mexican printmaker in the early 1900s. He named the character Katrina, and here she is. Let me pull this down a little bit. Can you see her?
Yeah.
She's not feeling well. Katrina is celebrated to this day as a female skeleton wearing a large fancy hat, showing that death shows no favors to anyone, not even rich Katrina, and her fancy upper class hat. Her hat was not just expensive, it was European. So that image came to symbolize those that denied their own roots in Mexico, trying to be something or someone different than they really are. Katrina parades have become a crowd favorite in modern times during that 3-day celebration. Let me show you 3 pictures here of Katrinas. There's one. Look at all those skulls on her hat. Here's another one. Oh, they're all dressed up as Katrinas. And that fancy European hat is very important. And here's yet another one. That's a celebration of Katrina parades. Yeah. The colors are amazing. Every once in a while, I like to go on the internet and get on YouTube and see some of those celebrations going on in Mexico. Let me pull this down a little bit more. Okay. Day of the Dead celebrations have spread all over the world and very significantly from country to country. Here's 3 more pics I want to show you from different countries. This first one is Day of the Dead in Guatemala. Look what they do. They horse race. All modern day holidays of Day of the Dead can point to several different origins influenced by Catholicism. Let me show you another one. Look at the size of these incredible, I don't even know what to call them. They're just great big cloth displays. Look at the size of these things. This is in Mexico. Here's another one that shows how big these things are. Here's people down below down here. I think that's Shannon right there in the dark glasses. I'm pretty sure. Wow. All Saints Day on November 2nd, and then they had All Saints Day November 1st, and then November 2nd, which is tomorrow for us, is known as All Souls Day. So November 1st, All Saints Day, is for all the saints, even the ones that are unknown. You know, we have a lot of named saints, and we have feast days for them. But there's a lot of saints that we never heard of. And so we not only celebrate Saints Day for the saints we know of, but all those saints that we don't know their names. And there is probably millions of them that we don't know about. But tomorrow is going to be All Souls Day. And that's for all of our loved ones that have gone before us. I love this. So in the Catholic world, there are 3 days of celebrations, not just one. Wow. All Souls Day, we have important masses incorporated in those 3 days that make up the Day of the Dead celebration, along with praying for all the souls. And that's really what we need to be doing as well, to pray for all the souls in purgatory. This is yet another example of the church, and I talked about this, Christianizing the church, Christianizing ancient seasonal pagan rituals, embracing them and adapting them to the worship of Christ, turning their backs on false gods. I love that. And the church has been very good at that over the centuries since she began. Now I want to turn our attention to how Halloween originated in Western European cultures. Let me pull this up for you. Halloween in Western Europe. Sorry, I'm going to push you over there. Okay, I lost me. In Western Europe. Okay. And now we come across the Atlantic and how it came across the Atlantic and became embedded in American culture. Much of the information used for this part of the presentation comes from research done by this gentleman right here, Father Augustine Thompson. He did a lot of work on investigating how Halloween became an American celebration. There seems to be a strong negative undercurrent among a majority of Christians, not just Protestants, seeing Halloween in our modern days as celebrating pagan rituals. Most recently, Celtic Druids and the false gods they worshiped way back when. Halloween itself, the night of October 31st, which was last night, actually had a Catholic origin. And America played a bigger role in that than I might have thought. History tells us that the ancient Celts of Britain and Ireland did in fact celebrate a minor festival on October 31st. But history also tells us that those same Celts celebrated the end of lots of other months of the calendar year with one festival or another. Halloween historically is on that night because of the solemnity of All Saints. So let me show you this picture. All Saints Day. Not because of the Celts. It was the evening before All Hallows that falls on November 1st, the feast honoring the saints in heaven. Originally, All Saints Day was on May 13th, but that was changed by Pope Gregory III in the year 741. By the way, I'll put these notes out on the website, or out on the, I'll send them to you by email at the end of the day. On the celebration, the dedication of All Saints Chapel at St. Peter's at Rome. Later in the 840s, Pope Gregory IV decreed All Saints Day to be observed by the entire church everywhere. And of course, that eventually became a reality in Ireland. Let me pull this down here a little bit more. Okay. All Hallows Eve again, that's a slide I showed you before. All Hallows Even and presto changeo over time became Halloween. It seems doubtful by that time in history that the long dead Celts, or Christians for that matter, would have seen that date as anything special at all. Then in 998, a little known saint in our time, Saint Edilo. Does anybody know that saint? I don't know that saint. Anybody on Zoom know that saint? They don't know that saint. I love the name. Edilo, an abbot of a very influential monastery in Cluny, France, started a celebration of All Souls Day of the faithful departed on November 2nd, the feast day known as All Souls Day. And there's All Souls Day. All Souls Day became popular, spreading from France to all the rest of the continent. But believe it or not, history has some strange twists and turns. There's one more day that didn't make the cut. It seems some Irish Catholic peasants were concerned about the souls in hell, feeling that they were left out of the celebrations during that time. And because they were left out, these souls in hell might show up and cause some trouble. So they came up with, at least in Ireland, a short-lived celebration named All Damned Day, conveniently celebrated on All Hallows Even, with the custom of banging pots and pans to let the neglected folks in hell know that they were not forgotten. It never really gathered much momentum. Gee, I wonder why. And obviously never made it onto the church calendar. So we do not sell All Hell's Day. We don't celebrate that in the church calendar. Another misunderstanding of today's Halloween craze is the origin of costumes that generate millions of dollars in profits these days. The original costumes of fanciful characters actually came from the French Catholics in the 14th and 15th century at the same time of the bubonic plague, known as the Black Death, spread throughout Europe, wiping out about half of the population. With death gripping every city, town, and village, more masses were offered on All Souls Day, November 2nd. I want to show you this. Yeah. Let me take this one. Artists during that time created works painted on the walls of buildings that reminded everyone, this is during the plague, that reminded everyone of their mortality and eternal consequences, many of them depicting the devil leading a line of skeletons into awaiting graves. And that's what we've got going on right here. Let me show you the next one. Well, I can't tell you that one yet. The dancing skeletons in the dance of death included kings and ladies and knights and lepers and monks and popes and peasants. Over time, this became a live reenactment of the dance of death, and they began to dress up in costumes. And that's where we get the origin of our costumes in today's day. What is confusing is the fact that the French dressed up on All Souls Day, but the Irish didn't dress up at all on Halloween, begging the question of how we in our modern tradition have costumes on Halloween. Enter the power of love. In the British colonies of the New World, America, when the Brits and the French began to intermarry during the 1700s, merging the traditions of both nationalities, here comes the bizarre fact of trick or treat. And that's when the French overwon by intermarrying with the Brits, and we began to have costumes on All Saints' Day. I found many possible origins for trick-or-treating, but there are two main ones that seem valid. The first one may have actually grown out of it. Listen to this, a failed plot of Catholic resistance during the time of England when Catholicism was against the law. It was banned. An ill-conceived plot to blow up the Protestant King James and his parliament with a whole lot of gunpowder was botched by a Catholic convert. Wow, that's what I am, a Catholic convert. By the name of, how do you know that? Yeah. His name is Guy Fawkes. Somebody knew that. Who knew that? How did you know that? You just knew that. What other worthless things do you know? I'm teasing. I'm glad you knew that. Yeah, Guy Fawkes. He's a Catholic convert that tried to blow up the king. Help us, Jesus.
Yeah.
Mr. Fawkes was discovered along with the gunpowder that he was guarding before he could blow up anything. Thus, the end of the famous gunpowder plot of 1605, resulting in his hanging and the beginning of a British national holiday that goes on to this day called Guy Fawkes Day. And there's Guy Fawkes, and they're taking him to his hanging. They celebrate this every year in England. How many want to go over there next year? I wouldn't recommend it. Wow. Guy Fawkes Day during the time of anti-Catholic English history resulted in revelers donning masks and visiting houses of known Catholics demanding beer. How'd they know they could get beer from the Catholics? That's what I want to know. And cakes during their anti-Catholic celebration. This is what could be possibly the origins of trick-or-treating on that day. It seems to be somehow related to that gunpowder fiasco. I don't know about you, but I'm glad by the time of the American Revolution, Catholic convert Guy Fawkes and the old King James were fading from the memory of all those folks. However, trick-or-treating in America turned out to be too much fun to just do away with it, and the tradition survived and eventually moved to, you guessed it, October 31st, Halloween, the very day of the Irish-French masquerade, and it was no longer limited to just Catholics. Oh, I love that trick or treat. Look at this one. Let me see if I can move you guys. Okay. That one's pretty cool, isn't it? Pumpkin eating a smaller pumpkin. Okay, let me pull it down just a little bit further here. Yeah, right there. Some historians point to different practices called souling, and this is what they used to do. And I'll pull you up here again. Shannon, what are you laughing about? You'll have to tell us later. I'll get back to you. They used to sing this from house to house, a souling song. A soul, soul cake. Please give Mrs. a soul cake. Good Mrs. a soul cake. An apple, a pear, a plum, or a cherry. Any good thing to make us all merry. 1 for Peter, 2 for Paul, 3 for him who made us all. And that's what they used to sing from house to house. And this is what when they said a soul cake, this is what a soul cake looked like back in those days. You can see the cross. It looks like a shortbread cookie to me. They're usually sweet, including nutmeg, cinnamon, raisins, and ginger. Souling in the UK slowly caught on during the 1800s, Later on, children would dress up and beg for fruit or money, often treating with jokes or songs or poetry, or perhaps even playing an instrument. Unfortunately, this later secular tradition replaced the earlier prayers for the dead. So at one time, they would go from house to house, sing that song, and then pray for the dead. Guising costumes during All Hallows Tide eventually made it to America, excuse me, brought over by the Scottish and Irish immigrants in the late 1800s and early 1900s. Guising ultimately replaced the secular trick-or-treating, was replaced with secular trick-or-treating in the 20s and 30s. It had a long pause during World War II because of sugar rations. It didn't take long after that, after the war, to see its popularity not only come back, but it exploded in the 50s and 60s. I want to end this presentation on some thoughts about All Saints' Day, which was yesterday. All Saints' Day and All Souls' Day. I was listening to Bishop Barron some days ago, talking about All Saints' Day and saints in general. He kind of caught me off guard by making this statement, and I'm paraphrasing. One of the saddest things that can happen concerning this gift of life that we've been given is to come to the end of our life and to not have become a saint. That surprised me because I think most of us think of sainthood as so far out there. There's no way I will be a saint in my lifetime. That is almost ridiculous to think about. Then Bishop Barron said something that changed the way I was thinking. He said, again, paraphrasing, saints have in their lifetime become best friends with Christ. In other words, they've become intimate friends with Christ. Did you ever wonder what it would be like to be best friends with Jesus? Not acquaintances, best friends. And I think that's where we're really going today as we really think about what is this All Saints' Day, All Souls' Day, when we think about the Day of the Dead celebration. This All Saints' Day and All Souls' Day that we will have tomorrow is encouraging us to put one more thing on our bucket list. And I think we're better to put it at the top of the list, and that's to become best friends with Jesus. Okay, just a couple more slides I want to show you. All Saints' Day, and then All Souls' Day. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing now. And we've got several minutes here to talk about. Did any of this history surprise you? Did you not know it before? Did something really catch your interest that we talked about this morning? Let me hear from you. Well, first of all, I need Shannon to tell us what you were laughing about. So, and she's still laughing. Go ahead.
We were just, I had never heard the story about Guy Fawkes. And so the idea of somebody pounding on your door demanding beer and cakes just kind of got us a little bit tickled.
You were laughing. Well, don't be surprised. I'm going to drive to Des Moines tomorrow and knock on your door.
Demand beer and cakes.
Beer and cake, so have it ready.
So one thing,
Yes.
which is interesting, when we moved to Iowa, Halloween came around, and I believe it was the 29th or 30th, and I saw kids out in costumes, and I'm thinking, oh no, I'm not ready for trick-or-treaters. You know, I'm thinking, what are you doing out a day early? In Iowa, it's called Beggars Night. And so the tradition is that they come to your door and you demand that they tell you a joke. And if you like their joke, then you give them candy. And so that first year we did have, you know, there were often kids that would come up to the door and have it tell us their joke, you know, have a joke that they told us, and then you gave them their candy. So
that's just confirming the religious practice that went on 300 years ago. And as it got secularized, it became Beggars Night. Mm-hmm. And instead of praying for the dead, and singing the soul cake song. Then they told jokes. And then if you like it, then I mean, that's interesting because it really confirms what we talked about today.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very, very good. Anybody else? Yes. Sue, speak up right into this microphone right here.
All right, I have a question.
Yes.
So they have the tradition of All Hallows Eve, Halloween, and then so the church has All Saints Day, then All Souls Day.
Right.
So on Halloween, they're celebrating the dead people, honoring them. So what exactly is the difference between All Hallows Eve and All Souls Day? And the church has All Souls Day.
Okay. We know All Saints Day because that had a Catholic origin, right? What we don't know is the Day of the Dead celebration that began in Spanish cultures, primarily in Mexico. And the Day of the Dead is on the day of Halloween, what we call Halloween, then going into All Hallows Evening, and then into All Saints Day. And then they added a third day for All Souls Day. Saints for just saints, souls for all of our loved ones that have died. They kept the Day of the Dead on the day of Halloween for children that have died. So our culture only really recognizes Saints Day and All Souls Day, right? And Halloween, the secularizing of that came from All Hallows Eve. You got that? So it's really 3 days. If you go to Mexico or anywhere, even in different Mexican-American cultures that we have in our country, it's a 3-day celebration. Yeah.
Right. But it seems like we're celebrating souls on All Hallows Eve, saints, and then.
Yeah, we don't make the distinction very well. That's one of the reasons somebody asked me to do this talk, was because we don't really make that distinction very well. Tomorrow should be a time for us to really think about all those loved ones that have died. And in many cases, a lot of the Catholic churches have masses on All Souls Day. Okay, makes sense. Yes, Kathy.
Well, and isn't our belief that saints are truly in heaven, but all souls, not necessarily so on All Souls Day, we focus more on.
Purgatory.
Yes.
That's exactly right. On Souls Day, we don't know if our loved ones are saints or yet. So we are praying, and that should be, tomorrow should be a day we really remember all the souls in purgatory and pray for them. Yeah, very, very good. Yes.
I know. But the soul cake song.
Yes.
Really nice and good and cute, and I couldn't help it in my mind. Well, that beats trick or treat, smell my feet, give me something good to eat.
Yeah, not for a kid.
Trick or treat, smell my feet, give me something good to eat.
Yeah.
That's more fun.
I'm just saying, I thought the.
Yeah, I like the Souls Cake songs a lot better.
I've
So,
done that in Nebraska.
Yeah.
I remember that.
wow. Anybody else have something that really kind of struck you this morning? Yes, Mr. Bird.
I think one thing is probably why you were asked to give that talk a while back, why I just wanted to hear that. We live in an area with a lot of people that don't understand Catholicism, and I think they've been kind of, some of the Protestants have been critical of this because they see, like you were saying, they see Halloween as an evil thing. And most people know it's somehow or another tied in.
That it had a religious origin. Yeah.
Why did they start celebrating this evil thing? And, it's, I think it's something we all need to understand.
Well,
because every now and then somebody might say, they might want to know this.
you should have seen my letter to the editor when I was a Protestant. It was scathing. I went after the Catholics and everybody else. Yes, Sue.
One thing that crossed my mind is that in early Christianity, I think it was Pope St. Gregory the Great. I can't remember who it was for sure. But there's a legend, a story that where the Christmas tree came from was there was a huge tree in the forest that the pagans worshipped
Right.
with pagan gods. And they were told to cut it down, but Saint Gregory, in his wisdom, he said, let's just have a Christian tree that's beautiful, and we'll replace that
Yeah.
tree. So where there's a void created, it's true. In Christian
You know,
wisdom, we establish
That's it.
something better.
We need to understand that the wisdom of the church Christianizes, it's always good to honor the dead. It always is good to honor the, there's nothing wrong with that. But if we can then take that as a cultural thing and Christianize it, it becomes even better. Yes. Lori.
When I was growing up and even here now, we always dressed up as saints.
Right.
We didn't dress up as.
Yeah, you're probably muted now.
I'm sorry. Laura, go ahead.
Yeah,
You
our
are
daughter's Catholic homeschool group always gets together on All Saints Day, and all the kids dress up as a saint, and they have a big celebration, and they have to tell something about the saint they're representing and stuff. So it's a great way for them to know their saints and to do a celebration. I thought it's great that there's a movement to go that way.
Yeah, that's what Lori was telling us here in class too. Juanita, go ahead.
When I was younger, I went to Catholic school and our school was right next to the church. And sister would let us go to church and say, Our Father, Hail Mary, and Glory be. And I don't know if this is true or not, but I think she said there was an indulgence that if we did that, the soul would break out of purgatory. So I grew up thinking that there was an indulgence, I don't know,
Yeah,
that this happened, and that's why you pray for them. And I still want to go to church, on All Souls Day and try and do that. I never get.
what were you saying?
Well, it was just in comment to that going to the cemetery during that time, you were saying it's the November 1st through the 8th,
Yeah.
that you get an indulgence.
During that week, there's an indulgence for that. Wow, that's wonderful. And I try and pray for those in purgatory every day. Purgatory to me is only 7 years old. As long as I've been a Catholic, I'm still learning a lot about what's going on. Kathy.
I've done that for a couple of years, of going to the cemetery, and I would recommend it to anybody. It's it just puts you there with, we're all gonna wind up in some cemetery, right?
I still think
And
that,
I pray as I drive through and all that. I think I told the story last year that, sometimes it'll get dark and I'm like, I have to get there, so I lock the cars to drive through the cemetery.
just in case somebody knocks on your door. So what they're talking about for you guys on Zoom is they're talking about an indulgence that the church gives for praying for those people in purgatory from November 1st to November 8th. Is that right? A week? And Kathy was saying she even visits the cemetery. I quite frankly wonder why we don't have, now I know it's not as warm in Kansas as it is in Mexico to do an overnighter in the cemetery, but what if we, there's something, every time I see that and they're around that grave and that little boy's picture and his little brother kneeling at his grave and all those beautiful marigolds and those candles, is something goes off inside of me. I don't know.
Imagine what people would think if we could all us Catholics spend the night in the cemetery on Halloween night. Can you imagine what they?
Well, I think we'll have to choose somebody else's town and go.
A bunch of strangers from another town are spending the night in the cemetery.
Juanita.
I think it would take a whole new mindset to try and
I know.
celebrate the Day of the Dead. Even though I'm of Mexican descent, I still wasn't brought up that way. I didn't know anything about it till I got older. But I think it would take a whole mindset because, it's sort of earthly when you think of, and I know some relatives of mine, they, on the day that their dad died, they go and have cookies and, punch or something at his grave
Yeah.
with him. But I would think if you start doing that, it sort of takes you back to earth and you're supposed to be thinking more of heaven. I don't know. I think it would take a whole mindset.
Well, part of the pagan culture was that spirits come to visit on that night.
Uh-huh.
Well, we wouldn't understand that. I mean, that was not Christianized. Yeah, I see it, Darrell. I mean, that part wasn't, but that was still part of the culture. And if you watch the movie Coco, it's a lot of that too.
Right.
So, but I still think, we only do on Memorial Day, we go and decorate and maybe spend some time and I don't know. There's just something there. Yes,
It's
Brian.
always been, and I've traveled to Mexico a few times. I really love that culture. One of the things that I've found there is, I think those areas, they just are, as part of their culture, they're much more aware of the mortality than we are. We tend to deny it, like, oh, well, I know, we all know we're gonna die someday, but we try not to think about
Yeah, if once a year, half your face looks like a skull,
it. I think.
you might be reminded.
I think they're much more aware of the.
Oh, yeah, they are.
And they live their life that way. And
Yeah.
I think that we should
They
learn.
do.
Well, and I love the Katrina things with the European hat and they still have big celebrations. Yes, Sue, we're almost out of time. Go ahead.
In many monasteries, cloisters, in their refectories, they have an actual skull. on the
Yes.
table.
Yeah.
If you look at Saint Jerome, as he is writing the Latin version of the Old Testament, he has a skull right on his desk. If you see any picture of Saint Jerome, there's the skull. Many other saints as well are holding a skull, those kinds of things. Chris, you had something to say earlier. I'm sorry, go ahead. Laura, go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, our daughter gave us a devotional. It's called the 30-Day Devotion for the Holy Souls. And it is a book that describes purgatory every day and what you should do for all the souls
Cool.
in purgatory and how you should. It's an eye opener, that's for sure, on purgatory.
Hold it up
It's
one more
called
time. Tell us
30-Day
the
Devotion to the Holy Souls.
30-day devotion to the Holy Souls. Okay.
It's really good.
Oh, we got one in class here, right there.
Uh,
Kathy says she's had it for 3 years and loves it. So
Every day.
praise it every day. That's awesome. All right. Well, we're out of time. I know that was kind of a fiasco, but it turned out okay. And it's good to see Shannon's mom again. I haven't seen you for a while. Let me give you a big hug from here. Okay. There you go. Good to see you guys. We are back on Bishop Barron, the last two on the kingship of Christ, and we'll finish that up. And I appreciate your tolerance today dealing with technical things, but everybody here, let me get these guys up here so you can wave at them. Hang on. All right. Everybody wave.
Bye.
All right. Love you. Bye.